Hello, everybody. Welcome to Act 4, our new show where we review new movies. That's it. That's the gist. So today in this episode, as per the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be reviewing The Amateur. It's a new spy revenge thriller film starring Rami Malek as the main character here. Uh, yeah, it was, it got some interest early on, and the trailers look pretty interesting and cool, and seems like a unique little thriller here. So we both went and saw it. This is the opening weekend for it. So yeah, let's jump into our synopsis real quick. Actually, something that we probably should have done for the Minecraft movie, but that's okay. We're learning. We're figuring it out here.
It's okay. There wasn't much of a
Yeah,
storyline
not much of a plot to.
debrief with that one.
Yeah. So here's per IMDb, the synopsis is: when his supervisors at the CIA refuse to take action after his wife is killed in a London terrorist attack, a decoder takes matters into his own hands. There you go. That's the
I like
that's
that
the
it's
start.
ambiguous
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the trailer was not.
Not very ambiguous, although I will say you had talked about some of the spoiler stuff in it. But it kind of gave me the impression that the stuff that happens at the very end, and that's not technically true, although again I still would have preferred it if the trailer didn't show the actual kills of some of the people that he hunts down.
Right.
So yeah, that
Because
part
the
is a
whole
little
point is
deflating.
the right, because the whole point is like the vindication of the punishment that those guys are going to get because like the whole movie is showing how sorry, do we want to do a quick spoiler for like review
Yeah,
or
quick
spoiler free
spoiler
review
review, like
first?
yeah, basic thoughts about stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so before we get overly in depth in this, because I have a lot to say about this movie, I'm a huge fan. I I have this right now as my second favorite movie out of 2025. I've seen 16 new films now this year, and I really liked it. I left the theater feeling really happy. I was thrilled. I thought that the storyline was pretty well written. A lot of the characters are really fun to watch. There's not like a single character that just like you're watching this movie and you're like, oh, they're on screen. Boo. I also thought the cinematography was really solid. It's nothing like game changing, but it's definitely not a negative part of this movie. I think it's all really well done. Um, as we mentioned earlier, the kills are really solid, but they would be a lot better if they weren't all over the trailer, unfortunately. Um, but no, I do want to give props to this movie. I really like the way that Rami Malek plays Charles Heller. I think he gives an amazing performance here, and I'm not sure what Anthony's thoughts are on this, but I feel like Rami gave amazing emotion throughout the film, as anyone would with the event of losing their wife, which is all over the trailers and advertising for the movie. So I don't think that's overly spoiler, but the way that he like shows his emotion after losing his wife, I think is really well done, and I think it's an amazing performance by Rami Malek.
Yeah, I think it's a very strong performance and something that we've seen from Rami Malek before. So it's not necessarily a groundbreaking thing or anything like that, and not one of my top of the year so far. But he's very good. He is a very strong actor in the opportunities that he does get. And the again, like you mentioned, the important thing with some of these sequences is the nuance. He's doing this awkward, quirky, sort of like maybe autistic type of character, and trying to process this loss and this grief while also like this anger and vitriol against his superiors who aren't listening to him. They're not respecting him. Like nobody respects him in this movie. And so you have all
Mm-hmm.
these things that he's balancing, and there are a few instances early on especially where that nuance and that range, the little micro expressions in his movements and body language that I think were really, really strong. And it needs
Mm-hmm.
to be strong because we're following him for 80% of it. He is this character. This is his journey. It's like a globe-trotting spy thriller where he's going and hunting down the people who committed that terror attack. And he's traveling throughout Europe in that way. So Yeah, that was cool. And I do think that the cinematography and the compositions were very competently done. Again, nothing groundbreaking here. It's, you know, very much in the same vein of other stories or other films in this genre, like a Jason Bourne, which is another like gritty, highly edited, close quarters, globetrotting spy movie. Whereas, you know, with the Bourne franchise, it's a lot more hand-to-hand combat and stuff like that, much more intense in that way. But they both also share that they're shot on location, so you can really feel the environments that he's actually in here, which is a nice little touch as well. One other thing about the look of the film, I appreciated the lighting choices. A lot of the certain sequences feel very distinct in how they're composed with the lighting and with the blocking, how the characters interact with that environment. And so that was pretty cool. I love the natural lighting and that whole feel of it. When something's dark, it's pretty dark. When something is very blue, everything in the scene is blue. When the only light is a flashlight on his phone that he's using, that's the light that you get in the shot. And so those little things make us an experience that much more seamless and immersive. And so it was just very competently done in that regard in all the technical aspects. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but solid. Yeah, I'll throw it back to
Hmm.
you again.
Yeah, I want to say this. I think that everyone should go and watch it because if we're talking about movies on the year, I mean, obviously, I said it was my second favorite movie on the year. You didn't say that it was like one of your favorites, obviously, and that's fine. If I'm being objective, it's not like a groundbreaking movie or anything. Like, I think Black Bag is a much more like objectively unique and like significant film than this movie is. But me personally, I had a ton of fun with this movie. I think it's really good. It's a really good just like way of portraying the fun like spy part of it while also still having some grounded emotions to it. There is some scenes in it that I find are kind of just like wasted airtime, which is kind of surprising because the movie's not overly long, but it probably could have got away with like a 90-minute runtime instead of a 2 hour runtime.
Yeah.
But I do think that people should be going and watching this movie. Um, if you're one of those people that complains about not good movies coming out, I think this is one that you should go see because it, regardless of whether it's an amazing film or what, or like it's an okay film, I think that everyone that watches this movie is gonna have fun watching it.
Yeah, to your point about how it feels bloated, I definitely got that impression too. I do think that it could have been a lot of the fat could have been trimmed or shaven, and a 20-minute or 15-minute shorter, more concise experience maybe would have really helped, especially toward the end. You just feel like it's going a little bit too long and you're a little
Yes.
impatient at that point. Um, so that's definitely one of my biggest complaints with the film, and honestly it kind of feels like and again, that's another issue with the pacing entirely, and some of the other like subplots and other storylines and characters that are just like they exist and then they don't, and then they maybe come back and then they don't exist again, like the John Bernthal character who's also in the trailer. I guess very minor
Hmm.
spoilers here, I'm not going to explain anything plot heavy, but he's barely in the film. Like you could have just cut out the two scenes that he's in and nothing about the film changes. And so little things like that to trim the fat and take away how bloated it feels. Now maybe there's a cut of the film where John Bernthal has a lot more to do, but it felt like that character was just not utilized at all. And there was definitely a way that they could have made him important and made him feel necessary. Even he could have been the they could have made him the anonymous character that he's talking to throughout the movie and helping him out with all these anonymous tips and stuff. He could have been that character, and
Hmm.
you eliminate one entire character and just again make the whole experience more concise. And so it does have a bloating issue, and the it feels like again, because they have so much extra stuff on the table that they didn't really explore, this could have been really successful, I think, and much better paced as like a 6 episode miniseries or something, where, you know, the first episode you actually feel the emotional impact of what happened. You know, you only get like 10 minutes with the husband and wife at the very beginning before the actual inciting incident occurs. And so if you get a full episode, 30 or
Hmm.
40 minutes with those people, then you actually have that established emotional connection, and it allows you to understand the character's motives more, and what how much, like, we know that she means the world to him, but we can see how much he means the world to she means the world to him. You know, it's showing instead of telling. And so I think a lot of the other storylines would have benefited from more time by having it as like a full episode or something. uh,
Right. And to that point, actually, of the you only really get 10 minutes of them together. I think that the impact of them, or of her death on the like on his mental health, I think all of it is almost portrayed entirely by him. Because like in the movie, you don't necessarily get a grasp of them together. You more so just get a grasp of how fucked up he is without her.
yeah,
And I think it's just the you have to like compare it, like your entire like thought process is, oh well, they have like a normal marriage, but without the marriage he is now one of the most like mentally unstable humans in the world. And I think that even though he is extremely unstable, like he obviously is very well thought out, like he's an extremely intelligent person, and that's like part of the story. But like your entire like, oh fuck, that was a huge emotional thing, is portrayed after the fact by him more so than actually developing a liking for the marriage and them as a couple, because you don't really see it.
exactly. Yeah. And again, I do think the whole thing would have benefited from extra time. And it's funny because, you know, we're complaining about it feeling too long, but it feels too long because the extra things are not being explored fully, and so they just feel totally unnecessary in this in the state that it was released in. And so if they wanted to keep
Hmm.
them and explore them fully, it would have benefited from a 6 hour thing or whatever. So yeah, definitely, you know, the pacing and stuff like that I struggled with. And while I enjoyed some of the stuff that he was able to concoct and these little traps and whatnot, I do wish we got more of the showing once again, instead of just like, oh, he created a bomb, you know, and this is the contraption of whatever. Like, I get, we know that he can create a bomb, but why don't you show us how he's preparing these executions and whatnot, and little things like that, you know, where again, you're building the world, you're building him as a, like, to be a more credible character in this environment, in this role. But that said, there are still very thrilling sequences throughout the film, I think, and a lot of them do have to do with how he
Hmm.
acquires information from these people, and you know, a lot of times his physical incompetence versus his mental competence, right? And how those are kind of, you know, they're each other's foil, and how they play off of each other in that way. And yeah, it again, it just feels like there's a lot of good here, but it's held back by some of these other like executive decisions that limit the film for me, which is unfortunate because I did ultimately enjoy my time, and I liked the film, and I think it's a fairly strong movie, but it could have been a lot better, I think, at the same time, and that's a little bit disappointing.
Hmm. I think that we should carry on into spoiler territory at this point, because I do want to talk about a specific scene. Not that it like really matters if people who haven't seen the movie hear about this, but I think it's good to like kind of make that transition. So, I'm gonna go ahead and give like a quick 5 second spoiler warning. You've heard it here. If you want to go see this movie spoiler free, which I recommend that you do, it's a little bit. I think it'd be a better experience, but it's not going to be a movie that changes you. So if you do listen to spoilers, so be it. We're going to go ahead and get on into spoilers. Um, I think that John Berthol's character is horrible. I think that his inclusion in the film is terrible. And I said that there's not a time where like, oh, this character's on the screen, it's going to be a bad time. And I think that is entirely true for every scene in this movie except for one. And it's, why is John Bernthal in Russia, and what was gained out of that entire scene? That was a wasted 5 to 6 minutes of my life. It completely ruins the tempo and the climax of the film. Like he's eavesdropping on the guy that pulled the trigger. He's eavesdropping on the person that killed his wife. You're getting that build up to it. And then you have this 5 minutes of just decompression of him talking to a fucking American CIA agent that he worked with in America. And he's like, oh, well, I can help you. Or like, and he is just it's dumb because there's two ways that this goes. Either he is completely out of the movie after this, and it's a wasted scene because nothing happens in the fucking scene, like nothing at all happens. Or maybe in another cut, this scene leads into, oh well, John Bernthal's character is now going to be the one to help him out in getting that bad guy, and then it's just like at that point, it's not even it ruins the movie because it's not about Rami's character, Heller. It's not about him getting the guy anymore because it's not him individually. He needed the help of someone else. And like, I get that he needed the help of the Russian woman at the end of the day, but she was never physically there. She didn't do any of the actions. All she was kind of like a spy cam for him. So it still didn't take away from the fact that he was the one doing the actions. So if it was like a different cut where John Bernthal's character was heavily involved or like he was physically involved, it would have ruined the movie. And I think that's probably what it was. It probably got cut because they realized, oh well, this kind of takes away from the whole Heller being the one to confront the killer. And then at that point, you just have a wasted scene that probably should have got cut because it ruins the tempo of the climax.
That may have been what happened, but again, you're really touching on what I mentioned earlier about just the necessity of a lot of this stuff. It's not necessary at all. This character's inclusion, like at the very beginning of the film, we don't even see Rami Malek interact with him about fixing the computer. We just see that thing where he doesn't respect him, right? But that's it. Like there's no substance to this person, and it feels like you've got John Bernthal here. You've got a character that's intriguing. You know, everyone calls him super dangerous, loose cannon, blah blah blah. But he doesn't do anything. He just is just around. You know. So yeah, that was really rough, and again, ruins the pacing. It feels unnecessary. It bloats the movie. And there are other instances of stuff like that. I think some of the overall overarching CIA stuff in general, I think, again, is not quite baked to perfection here. With and again, if you had more time, like in a series or whatever, to really dive into all these things and dedicate an episode to the CIA corruption or whatever, it would feel a lot better. But because you have this runtime, it doesn't work and it's not cohesive. It just feels like you're taken away from you're killing the momentum of the film essentially. So that again, very unfortunate because it does hinder my rating or entertainment rating of the film quality wise. And then the other thing is the final thing at the end. I'm not fulfilled when the final boss is just allowed to just get arrested. Like I don't feel to me that's not satisfying at all. You know, you've gone through these very
No,
elaborate
it was a horrible ending.
you've gone through these elaborate gruesome killings, at least of the middle two guys. You know, the first one was, you know, he's learning what to do really, and he still doesn't know exactly. He's not fully committed. But when you get to the second and third one, like these are elaborate, these are pretty brutal, frankly. But then you get to the last one, and he's just arrested. You know, it's not fulfilling or satisfying as an audience member where you're like, I'm hoping for like a big spectacle thing here, you know, to really enact revenge. This is the guy. This is the guy that he's been asking all the other people about. This is the guy that he's been wanting this whole time. He, you know, whatever. And yeah, so the not sticking the landing in both aspects is tough. And again, I still will be giving this a positive rating. I'll be giving it a 3 stars out of 5. But it really does like lose itself, and it could have been significantly stronger.
Right. And I think that it's weird because I gave it a really positive rating, and honestly, I still feel very positive about it.
That's totally fine.
But there are very clear routes. There are very clear routes to it being an amazing film that they didn't take. And I think that you have two-thirds of a great movie. I think you have two-thirds of an amazing film right here. And if you reshoot the ending what I would have been most satisfied, or what I think would have been the biggest payoff for our emotions, is as soon as he hands him the gun, because at the end of the movie, the whole storyline, and this is in the trailer, and where Colonel Henderson tells him straight up, "You're not a killer. You can't do what I do, no matter how much I train you." That's the exact line. He gives him gun, tells him to point it at his face. He can't pull the trigger. And the exact, which is stupid. Like the final boss guy, the guy that he's been tracking down, wouldn't just know to be, uh, like narratively the exact same fucking thing that he struggled with from the very beginning. That like narratively, it's extremely convenient. But the fact that it was extremely convenient and then he still didn't pull the trigger pisses me off. Because you could have had this amazing payoff where he gives him the gun and then he immediately just boom domes him. And at that point, you're like, okay, cool. He enacted his revenge. He killed the three guys involved. He got the payoff of proving everyone wrong. Everything that was said about him was proved wrong. But then you don't get that. You get this, oh, all I had to do was draw out the conversation with you, and then I knew I won. Like, really,
Yeah,
really?
it's not
That's
satisfying.
that's your ending?
I will say though, as a quick pushback on the convenience part, I'm not suggesting that this film is like super intelligent or anything. There are a lot of plot conveniences throughout the whole thing, I think, but that one is explainable because we
Yeah,
know that
like
this
him
person.
escaping the drone in Istanbul.
Sure, yeah, but this one is explainable because we know that this person is working directly with his superior at the CIA, and this is a symbol of that corruption. So this person does have a profile on Heller, on Charlie Heller. So that makes sense to me. That's fine that he knows that he's not a killer. He's just a nerd techie guy, and stuff like that. Um, that is okay for me, but yeah, I definitely agree with, like I said, it would have been a more satisfying conclusion where you save the most elaborate trap for the actual guy, the big bad, the one that you've been chasing this whole time, right? So yeah, it does. Again, it kind of ends on a whimper, which is unfortunate, but there's enough here working in parts as opposed to as a whole that it's still an enjoyable enough experience in the theater.
Right, and I do agree. I think the problem is the climax is it feels like the pool kill is the climax of the movie. Like that's when the tension is like not tension is the highest, but that's like kind of when the emotional highs are the highest. Like that kill extremely satisfying. Like fuck, he's becoming a badass. And like I think if because that's around the like 45 minutes, like an hour mark. If they had just ramped it up from there and kept the tempo higher, I think they could have had a much more satisfying payoff to it. Obviously, I'm not a filmmaker. I don't get paid millions of dollars to do this. If I tried to make a movie, it wouldn't be half as good as this one is. Even it wouldn't even be tenth. Like we're we're being critical of something that I'm not capable of doing. But regardless, if they had just taken that tempo that they established with that pool kill, then they ramp it into the if you jump fast, you might survive the blast kill. Like that kind of corny, but still overall satisfying. Like it was a fun kill. And I thought it was cool that he like reacted to the bomb, like he got even scared by it because like he's not a fucking killer. Like we all know he's not a killer, but and so it was good that he like didn't like he had human reactions to it. But then you should have just immediately like he got his information from the from all three people. Go into it. Don't do this slow down like this really long tension really long drag because when you do that really long drag, what a lot of films like to do is they'll do that really long drag right before because they have that big second act and then they have a really slow start to the third act and they gear up. You don't have to do that. Just keep the pace high because it's a spy film, it's an action film. There's guns ablazing the entire time. Keep that pace high. Meet him on his own ground or have something planned for him. Like I'm sure he had an elaborate plan for said person going into this. I don't think he would have had an elaborate plan for two people and then not have it for the big guy. And so maybe he had like an elaborate plan and then he enacts it once he finds out where the guy is, which would have been way more satisfying as a payoff. And I'll let it go back to you, but I do have one more gripe with this movie outside of its ending. I'm sorry. Basically, I took issue with that was bad communication, but I took issue with his handling of Colonel Henderson whenever they were at the hotel. Do you know what I'm talking about?
When they're training or when he's already globetrotting?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
So at the
after the
pool kill.
yeah,
Okay.
so after the pool kill, he's like running for his life basically, and he has both uh like a quote unquote good cop, and then he has Colonel Henderson. And basically the good cop is supposed to be checking in because Colonel Henderson is following Rami without permission from from the main CEO lady or CIA lady. And so they have this cool fight scene or whatever. He shoots Colonel Henderson, and then Colonel Henderson domes him. And then Colonel Henderson sinks to his ass. He's holding a gun. Raimi walks in the door. Two things. One, it makes no sense for Raimi's character to just leave him to die because he clearly appreciated his training and he valued him as a human. I think it would have been a lot better of a scene had he taken the time to at least tie a tourniquet or give him something to help him survive said circumstance. And then two, it doesn't make sense for Colonel Henderson to not try and shoot him. That literally is his entire job is to go there to kill him. So why you have guns in your or you have ammo in your gun? Why are you not trying to take a shot at Raimi when your whole job is to kill that guy?
I don't really have a problem with that scene at all, actually. I kind of disagree with both points you made there. Uh, Rami Malek is on the run. Like, you have a massive CIA fight there. You have guns. You have a gunshot, right? And he he has to go. Like, and yes, there is that moment of conflict, which I did appreciate, but I do like the decision to just leave. Like, this person is out to kill you, and I have no doubt in my mind that, like, if that character decided to proceed and try to save his life, that maybe then Colonel Henderson would have mustered the strength to fire a shot or pull out a knife or something like that. But whereas with the Colonel Henderson shoot thing, you have to he was just shot and he's about to die as well, right? So that you don't have like any strength left. He was shot in the shoulder, I think, or right about here, I believe. And so that like that arm is basically limp, right? So there are a lot of yeah, I kind of disagree with that gripe, and you're fine to have it, but I didn't have a problem with that moment.
I I guess my counter argument to that is he shot and killed the other guy after being shot because Colonel Henderson was shot first
Yes.
and then he finished the other guy.
Well, that's kind of like the
So
adrenaline thing. Like he's still standing. He's on the he's like kind of like leaning on top of the other agent, right? So, but as soon as you like drop to your knees and fall to the ground, that adrenaline like saps away. Almost like how if you lay down on concrete on a cold night, that concrete's going to sap all of your heat. And a lot of actually sad thing, but a lot of homeless people, if they sleep on the ground without, on concrete without any warmth or anything like that, they won't wake up in the morning because the concrete just saps all of their heat out of them. In a similar way, I feel like he falls to the ground and like it's Laurence Fishburne. Like this isn't a young, spry, nimble guy. This is a guy probably in his 60s at this point, very experienced and skilled and whatnot, but he falls to the ground like that adrenaline is gone at that point. And again, you're injured, you're losing a lot of blood, and you just don't have that much strength. That was a very intense sequence that he just fought in.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I like a big part of his character is he's the badass. He pulls the trigger. He has grit. He's the vet. Like he's the crafty vet. And so it's kind of like one of those things where like his whole like character is you like he pulls the trigger basically.
So
That's like his whole
then
shtick.
let me ask you this then, right? If he shoots at Rami Malek, at Charlie, we
Hmm.
established early on that Colonel Henderson is like he's dead eye. He's got perfect accuracy basically. We saw the sequence in the shooting range. Would it
Hmm.
make sense logically to suggest that he would have missed that shot? I mean, he's only like 10, 15 feet away. Obviously there's a door and whatever, but like that's pretty close range. If he does fire that gun, do you really think he misses, or does Charlie get out of the way in time? That's a very small distance, right?
Yeah, I mean, and this also is just like paying like to narrative convenience, but it kind of would have been nice if he had like gone to aim the gun and Rami at that like Rami is like instead of walking into there, for example, because he's looking through the window. So if he had just like stayed looking through the window, and then the colonel goes to like raise the gun, and then at that point Rami books off, he won't be able to make the shot. So
Okay.
like it would have been a cool like I don't know. It's not a bad scene. It was just a minor gripe. Like it's not anything that changes my grading on the film like the ending does. Um, but it was just one of those scenes where I was like, they could have done more with that than just him walking in there and then immediately just walking out and gaining nothing out of. Like, I didn't gain anything narratively out of him walking in there and then walking out. You know what I mean?
I think, well, like I said, I think there is a little bit there where we do get that conflict inside of him where, do I save him or do I continue on my mission? I need to finish this mission. I need to accomplish it. This isn't about him. This is about revenge. There is a little bit of something there for me as far as the character of Charlie Heller and how he's evolving over time. So that little decision actually I appreciate in that sequence.
Fair enough. I don't think you're wrong for enjoying that scene. Like I said, I like this film quite a bit. If I'm being overly critical, that's one of the things that I would have personally changed, but that's bias. I mean, that's very subjective of me. There's no objectivity to that level of filmmaking. But I think we have a pretty agreeable standing on this. We both thought that the first two acts were rather high paced and good entertainment value. Could have paid or could have transitioned some of the airtime from the latter half of the film and put it into the beginning portion to actually develop a relationship between the two for us to the audience to like grow attachment to. And I do agree that it kind of would have paired better as a like a 6 episode miniseries, but I think that that can be said about a lot of things where they if they had more time to actually like flesh out characters, they probably would have been better as a
Sure.
narrative. So
Okay.
I
Well,
don't necessarily think that this film couldn't work as a movie.
okay. Well, I gave my 3 stars. I was teetering on 3.5 for a bit there, but I do think that, again, the not being able to stick the landing there and ending kind of on a whimper a little bit, as at least as far as the actual emotional peak of the film goes, I did ultimately lean 3 stars. But go ahead and give us your rating of the movie.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I gave it 4 stars whenever I first saw it, and yeah, it was 4 stars. Like I said, I have it as my second favorite movie on the year, but that has zero objectivity to it. Anthony is a little bit more critical or like objective in his film analysis.
It's not
I'm purely subjective
It's not
because
objectivity. It's about what I enjoy too. That's what evaluating art is about. There's no right way to go about a thing. It's about how I prefer to go about a thing compared to how you prefer to go about a thing. So there's definitely not an objective right way. I think try one of the things that I would like to do is like a mission statement for the show is to try to help you like not use words like that when we're talking about movies. You know what I mean? And another word like
there's
being
nothing objective about film.
and another word being like bias. Like there's not really a bias about how you prefer a certain thing to go. You could have a bias like I'm biased toward Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has zero flaws, blah blah blah, right? But that's a bias. But like saying I prefer it a certain way or whatever, that is not a bias. That's a preference or what you appreciate more, what you get out of a film more. Everybody's approach is different and everybody has a different feel or feeling or what they take away from this art, and that's what makes it such a meaningful medium. Yeah, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah,
Right. Uh, I think the consensus is go watch it. I mean, and a lot of what we're gonna say is basically just The membership for whatever film in your area is $20 to $25 a month, and you get 12 movies out of it every month. Go get a membership and watch some movies because they're all worth watching to a certain extent. I had a ton of fun with this movie. My girlfriend did too. Anthony still enjoyed the film. It has its flaws. Every film has flaws. So go give The Amateur a good viewing. Go ahead and get back in theaters. Get these films the support that they need at their opening weekends. And thank you for listening to our second episode of Act 4.
All right. Thank you, everybody.